ladies and gentlemen, right now on the World AI Show, we're right now having an opening keynote on leveraging digital transformation through Egypt's AI national strategy. Well, we're joined by Golestan Radwan, ICT Minister Advisor for Artificial Intelligence, Ministry of Communications and Information Technology, Egypt. Well, she's somebody who's the advisor of the Minister of Artificial Intelligence at the Ministry of Communications and Information Technology with 17 years of experience in technology areas with international experience in AI and cloud computing. Thank you so much for joining us, Golestan. With this, I just request you to please switch on your camera and join us on the stage live. Thank you so much for being a part of the World AI Show. Over to you.
Thank you, and good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone, and welcome virtually to Egypt for this World AI Show. Great to have you all here. And I'd like to start by, of course, thanking ITIDA, Trescon, and all the sponsors for the wonderful organization. Let me just start sharing my screen because I only have 15 minutes and lots of content. So let's see, I hope this is visible in presentation mode now. Okay, so I've shortened the title of the presentation a little bit, but really what I want to give you today is an overview of where we're at with regards to Egypt's AI strategy, specifically with the implementation. Many of you have heard us talk about the pillars and enablers and our plans. Today, I want to focus on what we've done, and also kind of the enablers, because AI can't really stand in a vacuum on its own. And that's why we've chosen this title that combines digital transformation with AI. So jumping right in, just as a reminder for those of you who haven't seen this before, why are we even interested in doing AI in Egypt? Well, actually for two reasons. The first is we decided very early on that we don't want to do AI just for the sake of doing AI. We want to do AI because it serves a purpose. And for us, that purpose is development. So as you can see, the slogan for our AI strategy is AI for development and prosperity. We want to deploy AI technologies in developmental sectors where it can really help Egypt achieve its development goals for the benefit of all Egyptians. The second goal is to really play a key role, both regionally and internationally, in advancing the dialogue around AI. We believe that there are so many adjacent topics, like the impact on labor markets, like the social impact, like the ethics of AI, and so on and so forth, that deserve more of a dialogue and more of an inclusive dialogue. And it's really important that we also have a voice as a country and as a region in these conversations. So from those two objectives emerges our mission statement, so to speak, which is to create an AI industry in Egypt with everything that an industry requires: skills, technology, platforms, governance, infrastructure, and so on and so forth. And to formulate it a little bit in a bit more of a structured way, we think of it in terms of 4 pillars and 4 enablers. And we've come up with kind of cool acronyms for them. So we call the 4 pillars AI for G, AI for D, AI for H, and AI for X. So G stands for government, D stands for development, H stands for human capacity building or human development, and X stands for external relations and international relationships. And of course, the enablers being governance, data, ecosystem, and infrastructure. And we'll have a brief overview of these, not just our plans, but also what we've achieved so far. So just for the sake of time, I've kind of combined some of them together. So AI for government and AI for development, I'll talk about in this section very briefly. AI for government for us means 2 things. It means providing more efficient, faster, and personalized government to citizen services. So as you're well aware, Egypt has been undergoing a massive digital transformation of its government since 2016, I think is when we started, to provide these government to citizen services online or in an electronic paperless way. And we'll get into the status of that in a moment. But then what's the next step after that? Now that we're moving to a new administrative capital, we also want, as you heard from His Excellency, a government that is collaborative, paperless, and smart. So this is the smart part. But then also, how do we improve the efficiency of transparency of government processes themselves? So as you can see on the right, here are some of the projects that we're currently undergoing. Smart correspondence management, for example. How do you route government correspondence in a smart way? How suggest responses and save time for executives, the tracking of sustainable development goals and our performance towards them, policy design and scenario design, knowledge mining for heritage sites and museums and various other things. Government procurement, of course, is a huge area for improvement. Smart city applications is a whole topic that we'll talk about later. Things like automated translation to facilitate international collaboration and partnership, and so on. So this is just a very quick snapshot or projects that we're currently undertaking in modernizing our government using AI. The second part of that is what we call AI for development, which is really deploying AI in strategic sectors to help achieve Egypt's development goals. For the first phase of the strategy, which lasts for 3 years, we've chosen a number of key sectors or priority sectors to start with. So we've got agriculture, which for us also includes environment, water management, and so on. We've got healthcare, of course, economic planning, infrastructure, manufacturing, and NLP for Arabic, which is kind of an enabling technology for all of these sectors. And some of the projects we're currently either have finished or are working on, lots and lots of stuff in agriculture. So a smart assistant for farmers, a livestock management project that's kind of an AI and IoT platform to track the life cycle of livestock and optimize it, precision agriculture for high value crops, radiotherapy planning for cancer patients for different types of cancers, chronic disease management and helping people manage their chronic diseases and reducing the burden of that both on the patient and the healthcare system. Having a network of health informatics labs with AI-driven insights about population health all across the country. Predictive maintenance either for factories or even for things like silos that store strategic crops. And then point solutions like the early detection of diabetic retinopathy, for example, from eye fundus images. So how are we implementing all of that? Well, we're implementing that within the framework of what we call Egypt's AI platform. So this is really what we're building. Every project that we embark upon puts one or more boxes into this architecture. This is a layered, modular, scalable architecture that we're aiming to finalize, hopefully in the next couple of years, to provide an AI platform for everyone who needs it, whether it's businesses, government, startups, crucially, and research and academia, and so on, so that people can really combine these Lego bricks, so to speak, have kind of certified, trusted components that they can use and reuse to build their own AI applications. And of course, the layer underneath, so where it says data sources, this is the result of the digital transformation that we've been undergoing for the past 5 years or so. In other words, the way we deliver these projects is within the framework of a center of excellence, which is for now codenamed AIEG. So this is Egypt's AI Center of Excellence, which really engages with stakeholders, be it beneficiaries from government or from the private sector, but crucially, it also has a mandate of building and growing the ecosystem in Egypt. So the box on the bottom right that you can see, the blue box where it says technology partners, this is really the private sector in Egypt, whether it's startups, whether it's even projects coming out of academia or established companies of any sizes. And the idea is that we engage with the beneficiary, we train their people, so this is the domain experts box, on the fundamentals of AI, so they're able to help us specify and scope out the project. And then with the help of the technology partner and our in-house team, we work together on developing a solution. Of course, technology partners are companies from within Egypt or abroad. We very much value international partnerships, and we believe strongly in public-private partnerships. to make AI for development projects viable and sustainable. And so what we do is we prefer a so-called co-development model, where we come up with a scope for a project that works both for us and the technology partner. Usually we can use it at favorable terms in Egypt, and the technology partner is free to market it worldwide. So there's a win-win for both sides here. Quickly to human capacity building. First of all, we operate along 3 principles for capacity building. The first is that AI is there to augment, not replace human labor. So wherever we can, we try to save jobs and we try to focus on improving processes. The second is that the best way to counter any threats to the labor market is to grow the size of the market, to generate new opportunities for people so that anyone who's displaced can find an opportunity elsewhere. But then also the sober realization that some people simply will not be able to be upskilled or reskilled, and it's vital not to leave those behind either. So the way we've structured our capacity building framework is in terms of the roles that people are going to play in the AI ecosystem. So here you see 2 pyramids. Of course, we're a nation of pyramid builders, so we like our pyramids. And we've constructed 2. The one on the right is for non-technical roles. So this starts with the general public, educating people on the basics of AI, what can they expect from it, how does it benefit them, but also its risks and limitations. And then going all the way to school children, how do you introduce them to this technology, at what age, and then to university and equivalent kind of studies, but also in non-technical disciplines, like how do you educate the future doctors and artists and lawyers and so on the importance of AI and how it can help them in their jobs. The same applies for non-technical professionals or so-called domain experts. How can they engage effectively with AI teams, specify AI projects, and also validate the outcomes? And then finally, leaders, whether in business, in government, in third sectors, where they need to make investment decisions. They need to know how to hire the right people, how to choose the right projects, and so on. And then for the technical roles, we have a much more granular kind of division where it reflects kind of the numbers that we need of each specialty, but also the degree of specialization and to some extent the market value. So the higher up the rungs of the pyramid you climb, the smaller number you need, but also arguably the more training you need and the more specialized knowledge you need for these roles. And just to give you an idea, we've got quite a few partnerships going for these. So the idea is that we translate every rung of these pyramids into programs and partnerships that we then deliver the courses through. Some of these haven't quite been signed yet. Some are already underway. So I hope our partners won't mind me using their logos here. But it's been quite an effective model where we partner with both academia and industry to ensure that whatever we're providing is state-of-the-art and is also conducive or corresponding to the needs of the labor market. So this is kind of the general awareness, schools programs, university programs, and so on. The more technical track is more around graduate programs. So we have a very successful program currently running with EPITA, the French Grande École, for a 9-month postgraduate diploma. We're hopefully about to sign a few more partnerships on that front. We have very specialized training for professionals on things like GeoAI, like NLP, like computer vision. And then for leaders, we have the so-called AI Business School, which we're doing in partnership with Microsoft and INSEAD. Going quickly through the enablers, because like I said, AI can't really be done in a vacuum. So here is a snapshot of what we've been up to on the digital transformation side in Egypt so far. We've launched the so-called Digital Egypt portal, and in the middle you can see a tiny screenshot of what that looks like, but feel free to check out the URL and see what it offers. So it basically offers 60 government services that are fully online right now, and we're aiming to reach 170 by the end of this year. But then also recognizing that not everyone will have the opportunity to go online and register on a portal and so on. And so we've offered 4 outlets or 4 ways for people to get in touch with these digital services. So while the back end is fully digitized, the front end can be diversified in terms of access. So there's the portal, but there's also a call center, which also includes a special line for people with special needs, so they can easily access that as well. We've got our post office branches that offer the same services, and we've got dedicated service booths that are found in places like gas stations, for example. We are also introducing multiple payment methods, so people can pay using credit cards, mobile wallets, e-payment companies like Fawri, and so on. And currently, the portal has more than 2 million registered users, and it's still in soft launch. Some of the programs, the nationwide kind of digital transformation programs that we've launched, and I've chosen just 2 to highlight here. One is about the national health insurance, or the universal health insurance law that's been rolled out, and really rests upon having a strong digital base for the healthcare sector. And it's already launched in 3 governorates and being continuously rolled out across the rest. And it includes building a national healthcare platform and database, but also one for purchasing and dispensing medicine, which is a huge problem in Egypt. We've also got a project called the Farmer's Card, which is basically a card like a credit card given out to farmers to help them with planning and obtaining their subsidies, but also helps the government plan in terms of identifying land possessions, which are not always clear in Egypt, but also things like detecting encroachment on agricultural land, like planning crops and detecting crop mixes, and so on. It currently has over 1 million users, and we're aiming for 5 million, hopefully by the end of this year as well. Just a few other indicators to enable that AI strategy to fly. So of course, infrastructure, as we said, is one of the most important enablers. We've invested over 35 billion pounds since 2019 in modernizing Egypt's broadband infrastructure, which resulted in us jumping from 40th position to 4th in Africa, and currently having the fastest broadband in North Africa. We've got over 2,500 schools connected to the internet. We've interconnected 11,000 government buildings through a dedicated fiber optic network to facilitate the exchange of data and to enable the backend of Digital Egypt. And we're targeting 32,500 buildings with a total investment of over 6 billion Egyptian pounds. Lots of investments on the mobile side as well. New mobile spectrums have been allocated to service providers. We're constructing over 200 new mobile towers, and we've signed 4 partnerships for the provision of undersea cables going through Egypt. The Egyptian Post, as I mentioned, is a key player in this as a service provider of government services. So we've renovated over 1,600 post offices so far, installed 700 new ATMs. We've launched microfinancing services through the post offices, and we're currently modernizing the Postal Museum, including a nice little AI solution for knowledge mining for the content of the museum that should be launched in a few days, and I hope you'll like it. On the startup and innovation front, Egypt is actually has ranked #1 across MENA in the number of startup investment deals, and #2 in the volume of startup investments, which is a huge achievement given the competition we have from some of our neighbors. More on innovation, Egypt actually has a very ambitious plan for smart cities. So we're constructing 15 new smart cities. If you look at this map here, the orange boxes are the new smart cities that we're constructing. And as you can see, they're all over the place, so quite geographically distributed across the country. You can see things in Upper Egypt, things in the middle of the desert, things in Sinai, and so on. And then the yellow boxes are what we call innovation hubs or creativa hubs. And We've currently built 5 of them. You can see the pictures on the bottom left, mostly in Upper Egypt, actually, and we're constructing 5 more in the second phase. And many of them are co-located with smart cities, and that's not by accident, of course. So for smart cities, as you can see on the left, we've got 15 currently planned for phase 1, and then 30 for in total for phase 2. They're expected to house 14 million inhabitants and offer 6 million new jobs. Some of them will come online, like the new administrative capital and New Alamein later this year. They're fully equipped with smart network infrastructure, command and control centers, and so on. And we're currently deploying pilot projects in some of them to test out different applications for smart cities and then roll them out across all smart cities when successful. So they're serving as test beds for new technologies as well, and to catalyze the local ecosystem. And this is where these Creativa hubs come into play, because they are essentially innovation hubs that are located on university campuses and have the mandate of kind of connecting the local community with the research done at the university. So imagine having a smart city with a Creativa hub, with a local university, working together to try out new technologies, use them in a test bed within the smart city, and then once successful, roll them out across the country. So this is very much the model that we're adopting. Finally, a very important topic for all of us, which is our commitment to responsible AI. We take responsible AI very seriously, especially with our goal for using AI for development. We believe that to use AI for development, you also have to use it responsibly and ethically. So these are some of Egypt's contributions to the world efforts on responsible AI. We're the first Arab and African country to adhere to the OECD principles on responsible AI. We're members of the One AI Expert Network, and we've actually recently participated in an interesting project by the OECD showing how we're implementing Principle 2.4, which is around labor transformation, and I'll give you the link to that in a minute. We're also starting a country program with the OECD with a specific track on using AI in government and benchmarking our efforts in that regard. With UNESCO, we were vice chair of the ad hoc expert group that drafted the first international recommendation on the ethics of AI. And we actually proposed to have an assessment tool to help countries determine where they are on the spectrum and what help they need to implement ethical AI. We've also been admitted as observers to the Global Partnership on AI as the first Arab and African country. We are chairing 2 groups, one on the African Union level and one on the League of Arab States level, to unify efforts around AI in these 2 regions, to speak with one voice in international fora, but also to see how we can combine efforts and come out with really important and really fruitful outcomes for AI projects, whether it's in development projects or in things like capacity building across our nations. We're also working with the Francophonie organization on developing their AI strategy, and we're doing our own, launching what's called the Egyptian Charter on Responsible AI, which is our version, our localized version of all of these principles, the OECD, the UNESCO, the ones published by the EU, and so on, adapted to the local context of Egypt and guiding the responsible AI development in Egypt. And we hope to publish it this summer. And then finally, the AI Center of Excellence, which, as I said, has a standard methodology based on the principles of responsible AI, like transparency, like impact assessment, robustness, final human determination, security, and so on, to be able to kind of instill those across the entire industry in Egypt. So this was a very quick overview. I hope I didn't go over time by too much, but here are a couple of links if you're interested. Of course, the MCIT website has an AI section that talks a lot about what we do. And we're soft launching Egypt's AI portal, ai.gov.eg. So hopefully that will be available in the next few days as well. And then this is the OECD blog post that I told you about, which talks about how Egypt implements the OECD principles on responsible AI. Thank you so much for listening, and I wish you a very successful and enjoyable event. Thank you.
Thank you so much, and thank you for joining us at the World AI Show. It was a great pleasure having you with us. Thank you so much.